Since 7:30 a.m. Yeah.
Waiting for you to like.
TikTok.
Yeah, we're behind the.
I'm not very good at that. I feel like I'm interrupting.
Tough to walk into a meeting.
Christina,
But yeah, and,
I know. I get it.
Mexico.
who's this guy? What's he think he?
Exactly.
Mayor, if I can have a minute, please.
Yeah, please.
Trouble. Thank you.
Are you ready to go?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right, call to order.
Ms. Benitez?
Present.
No, hold on. That's roll call you're doing, not call to order.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm still here.
That doesn't happen often.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Benitez?
Present.
Mr. Axiotis?
Present.
Ms. Persino? Mr. Rufner?
Present.
Ms. Stimpert?
Here.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Brenda Persino from today's meeting.
I'll second it.
Mr. Axiotis? Ms. Benitez? Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Persino? I'm sorry, Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
And Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Pass 4-0.
All right, do we have any special presentations by staff members or invited consultants tonight? Oh, I'm sorry.
Change.
Changes to tonight's agenda, other than Ms. Persino being excused.
Yeah, I have one. Hang on.
Okay.
And I would like a motion. Let me find this here. I'd like a motion to direct the interim city manager and the city clerk to develop a professional advertisement for the position of police chief. That would be my first motion.
Just as a motion to direct the interim city manager and clerk to develop an an advertisement for the position of police chief
Yes.
to be added to the agenda.
I'll second that.
Ms. Stimpert and Mr. Rufner, any discussion?
I would just, with our current police chief retiring and our, I believe all of council's want and our village's needs, I would like to have that ready to go and for us to approve, or at least to consider.
Please, Brian.
I just wanted to add, we may not have a full-time police department, but the charter requires us to have a police department, and we believe we would satisfy that requirement by having a police chief. So our hands are kind of tied due to the charter, which is why we're going to explore having police chief on after Ms. Fixler's contract is up.
Okay, and then I have a second motion.
Should we vote on this one first?
Oh, sure, I guess.
Just a question. Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
Pass 4-0, will be added to new business.
Right, and then may I do my second motion now? I would like to have a motion to direct the interim city manager and council clerk to develop a professional advertisement for the position of city manager.
I'll second that motion.
Ms. Stimpert? Mr. Axiotis? Any discussion?
Please.
The reason we're doing this now is the fact that Mike's been serving as interim now for a bit. He has planned a retirement sometime in 2025. We know the wheels move a little slow when it comes to getting the job description buttoned up and the advertisements out there and getting the applicants and the interviews completed. So it's best to start that process now as soon as we can, so that way we're not finding ourselves up against the wall when Mike wants to retire.
Can I add to that? Mike's been doing a fabulous job. We've
Oh,
thrown
definitely.
him under the bus and ran over him a few times. Super appreciative of everything he's done. Looking at the timeline for finance director, it took us from February to August to get that all done. I would like to take our time. I have spoken to Mr. Axiotis numerous times about this. Ideally, myself, and I believe Axiotis feels the same way, we would love to have a longer transition time where Mike is still here, still actively interim and his other job. Mentoring and supporting and keeping the wheels moving the way we've been moving. We've been moving maybe a little slower, but we have been moving in a very positive, good way. And I really want to hand that baton off slowly and gradually and continue moving forward. So I don't want to just, hey, here's his 2 weeks, he's retiring, and we start a new person. We want to have a nice time frame there where we can mentor and transition Mike into his retirement and city manager where we need to go.
Anyone else?
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Pass 4-0, that will be added to new business.
All right, do we have any special presentations by staff members or invited consultants tonight?
No, sir.
Public comments. Agenda items only, 3 minutes. Anyone have anything tonight? Okay. And reports. Mayor has nothing to report, and we'll move on to city council. Mr. Axiotis, do you have anything?
The planning and zoning meeting was moved from yesterday to next week, and then I saw an email earlier today that canceled it for the month. Looks like there was no agenda items. There is a Treasury Investment Board meeting here tomorrow at 6 p.m. So if you're interested, a few of us will be here talking about the city's investments. asked for, Ms. Persino's out, and I'm sure she would have covered this, but I just wanted to say, there's a group of folks who repainted the skate park and it looks pretty fantastic, and I just wanted to say thanks for hard work on that. Ms. Julie, Ms. Roof, do you have anything?
I have nothing, sir.
Mr. Limbian, do you have anything for us tonight?
Just two brief things, Mayor. The annexation process is being addressed, and correspondence to the Bracefield Township trustees, and communication is underway with the Commissioner's Office and the Dunkin' Donuts management firm and owner to see which way might be the quickest way to expedite the petition for annexation, which would hopefully receive the least resistance. I know there was a process back a number of years ago, and it seemed as though it was kind of contentious with the township at that time, from what I read in the different news reports. And I'm trying to avoid that contentiousness, so that hopefully both entities see the positive effect of an annexation and how it should help spur development in that corridor along 534 and 5. The other thing is that we had an extensive meeting today with Chip Comstock and the attorney from the township with regard to the fire district, and the new agreement that was developed some time ago, but it needs to be updated, is underway and should be available in about a week. So I'll be forwarding that to you for your consideration, that hopefully council will consider passage and adopting the new agreement between the township and Newton Falls for the Joint Fire District. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Can I
Oh, please.
piggyback onto,
Yeah.
so he's talking about the Newton Falls Joint Fire District Resolution, I believe it is?
Yes.
It has been years. I've sat on council since the end of 2021, and I believe it dates back to 2017 or 2019. This has not been approved between the township and the village. So I would appreciate everybody asking questions and getting resolution to that, and us getting that passed as soon as we can, once we have it, obviously. So thank you for your
Thank you.
time on that.
Miss Jamie, do you have anything else for us tonight?
Yes, just a brief report. You're more than welcome to read through it, but just a couple of things that I was kind of pointing out to you. I provided a statement of cash position because it wasn't out on the website yet, but the city has closed and everything's reconciled, and I highlighted the ending general fund balances, and you'll see the general fund and then the general fund reserve. That was part of the earlier presentation. And you'll see the current balances in both of those funds are highlighted because it is decreasing from the beginning balance until the ending balance. And it's just due to spending for unexpected items like settling of lawsuits and in areas like that. So you're more than welcome to read through the rest of this, but our biennial audit that was supposed to be wrapped up has been postponed yet again. They're expecting a release date now of December 2nd on that audit. And all I'm being told is it's going through the administrative process, and really I don't know what that has left to do. But we are now moving forward with the 23 through 28 audits. They'll be every 2 years, and it's a new CPA firm this time around, so hopefully we get a clean slate. And then you have the utility meters, as Bill had indicated earlier. The city's still putting in the electric and water meters. And as this process continues forward, the residents are being informed that they need to schedule for those meters. And some are taking it that they're gonna have their utility shut off if they can't get those meters in. And really, you just need to have an appointment. So there's no shut-offs, it's just an appointment that is needed. So if someone calls and complains, just let them know. And then Rita got a hold of me today. They said they mailed out 813 administrative subpoenas for delinquent non-filers. So Rita's going to take care of that whole process, so if you hear anything, either direct them towards Rita or direct them back to my office, and we'll let them know what they need to do to follow up on that program. Otherwise, it's just a little bit of information for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Novotny, do you have anything?
I do a few things. Start off with the, I did hear back from Folk and Associates on the Jackson Street, abandoning that small parcel there of Jackson Street. They have finished the survey work. Next week, they will be getting the legal description done and getting the pins placed out on the property, as well as they will be working with the county to try and get all of this information to the county and see if it is enough for them to actually create a parcel so that this can continue to move forward, or see what else is needed. So this is still moving forward, we're just, it's all paperwork now. So, another item, I had received an inquiry about Swift Park. This is a property that the city owns on Harding Avenue. It butts up against at least 4 different residents. And the inquiry was if the city was interested in getting rid of, selling this property. My current reply at the time for right now was that the city is not interested in selling that particular piece of property. One, we would have to do some more due diligence and see, especially it butts up against at least 3 other properties there. My letter stated that, you know, at which time, if the city does decide to sell that property, it would be listed for public sale. So moving forward with that. Last week, I attended a demonstration at the fire department. It was very interesting. It was put on by the State Fire Marshal's office. It was a demonstration of a device that's potentially a $4 to $6 piece of plastic that's about this big, used in oxygen tubing. It basically is it's a heat sensing, has a fusible link in it. If it senses heat from a fire, it shuts the flow of the oxygen off. Again, the demonstration was put on by the State Fire Marshal's office. Our state representative, Nick Santucci, was there. I was there. It was very impressive. The facts that were presented is over the last 12 or 24 months, there have been, I believe she said 50 or 51 deaths, fire deaths, and approximately 40, I think she said, were attributed to oxygen type fires. Yeah, some may review this as, you know, promoting, you know, smoking while oxygen. That's not the case. It's just this can be life-saving. It won't stop somebody from getting burned, but it will stop them from dying from it. It's really cool. So the fire department has some of these on hand now. As they come across any of these situations, they're going to try and get them out to these particular people. Some of these people have smoked all their life, and just being on oxygen is not going to stop them from doing it. So hopefully, if we can save their life and make them a little bit safer. So it was a very interesting demonstration. Rite Aid property. We had a meeting yesterday. There is a party that is definitely interested, and they have presented a preliminary plan, met with myself, zoning inspector, the superintendents of all the utilities, as well as the fire chief. It is, they're planning on moving forward. It could move fairly quickly. It is Circle K. They are looking at obtaining that property and putting a brand new facility there. The numbers show that they are, for the business that goes through the current location, they cannot believe the amount of business that goes through that particular location for its size. So there's a lot of legwork. They were directed that they would have to go to planning and zoning, but they were asking basic questions. They wanted to know if any of the utility superintendents saw any issues with what they were proposing, if they were going to be within zoning, if the fire chief had any concerns, but it looks like it would be a brand new facility, and it could be moving through, at least starting very quickly. So, so that, and from what they were saying is they definitely anticipate that it would increase jobs over their current number of employees, as well as this would be corporate owned, corporate run. It's a long-term investment on their part. They're looking at being there for a long time. So, and then lastly, law director spoke about the annexation. I received a phone call today from the controller of Dunkin' Donuts. He was asking basic questions about the annexation. They wanted to make sure that they had all their paperwork in line so that they were meeting all the requirements for taxes, filing, everything that they needed to do. I asked what their target date was. Their rough target date is by the end of the year to be done and open. A lot of that's going to be weather dependent. They do have some outside work to do still, but they are moving along. I was out at the site yesterday. They are inside running electrical wire, heating, ventilation, putting ductworks in. They're moving right along. So, but that's all that I have.
All right, Article 8, approval of previous minutes. This is the regular meeting minutes from the October 16th, 2024 meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Ms. Stimpert, Mr. Rufner.
You weren't here.
Right.
Mr. Rufner,
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert,
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis,
Yes.
and Ms. Benitez.
Abstain.
Pass 3-0.
We need to make a motion to accept her abstention.
I'll second that.
Stimpert and Mr. Axiotis. Ms. Stimpert,
Yes.
Mr. Rufner,
Yes.
and Mr. Axiotis.
Yes.
Pass 3-0.
I don't know if we want to have discussion. The reason she was abstaining is because she wasn't here. So just want to clarify that.
Oh,
Yes.
very good. Yes, thank you.
All right. Public hearings, ordinance 2024-44. This is an ordinance authorizing the execution of the 2023 NPP Power Pool Participation Schedule with American Municipal Power, also known as AMP.
I'll make the motion.
No,
Ms. Benitez?
public, hold on, it's public hearing.
That's public hearing.
Oh, that's right, public hearing.
Trips me up all the time, too.
We can, no public comments. We can move on to unfinished business.
All right, unfinished business. Ordinance 2024-44. This is an ordinance authorizing the execution of the 2023 NPP Power Pool Participation Schedule with American Municipal Power, also known as AMP.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Axiotis and Mr. Rufner.
In discussion? Call the roll, Madam.
Actually,
Mr. Rufner?
Please.
again, just as a point of clarification on this, this is to allow us to combine and use the purchasing power of other communities that are part of the AMP consortium to help get our purchase price lower, I guess you could say, for what we actually buy and provide out to the community. It's a cost savings measure we've been doing for several years. And again, it helps to maintain the our cost, and subsequently the resale cost to the community at a lower rate.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Exiotis?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Sniffer?
Yes.
Pass 4-0.
All right, new business. Article 11, this is ordinance 2024-45. This is an ordinance amending Newton Falls water rates effective January 1st, 2025, and again, January 1st, 2026.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Exiotis and Mr. Rufner. Discussion, please.
There was a water study done a couple years back that there were supposed to be yearly increases for the water rates that, for one reason or another, somehow got lost in the shuffle. Best way I can describe it. We just had a work session earlier before this meeting where the superintendents from the various departments weighed in, and from least that I can tell, the water department financially is hurting, needs these rate increases. The good thing is that the water debt that's been on the bill will be dropping off if it hasn't already. I don't know when that goes into effect, but this increase will basically be about a wash for most people, so they probably won't see an increase for most folks, but it's a necessary evil for that water department to continue to function and be healthy.
If I may.
Please.
Yes, that is correct. The debt service falls off January 1. This increase would go into place, and it is pretty much just a wash on that. And you are correct. The water plant these last couple years and ending 2024 are ending the year where it is costing them more to make the drinking water than the revenues they're bringing in. They're running at a negative. And again, I can't answer why, the same as you can't, this fell through the cracks somewhere, but this is the first step of getting them caught up to where they can function and, I don't want to say be profitable, but at least not be running in the negative. Provide the water that we need to provide and the services, and be even.
Good, Kevin.
Just to add some numbers to that, as Mr. Exiotis and City Manager both stated, the current department, it costs $2.2 million a year to generate the drinking water that is consumed not only here in Newton Falls, but West Farmington, Southington, the other areas that we service. The revenue generated from the billing amounts to $1.8 million. So, yes, back in 2021, there was an ordinance passed incrementing a 6% increase across 4 years, 21, 22, 23, 24. As the city manager stated, we don't know why it never happened. We don't know why it never went through. It was never processed. So over the years, the revenue that goes back into that utility has been diminishing. We are now, this council is now faced with a, $200,000 deficit, actually $400,000 deficit on that utility alone, and how we fix that. That's just to get to where we are making enough revenue to cover our expense, break even. As Mr. Novotny stated, this also, we haven't been putting anything into their capital improvement. We just spoke with superintendent tonight, and all the upgrades and all the maintenance and everything is being done down there has been done on the fly, last minute appropriations of council, hurry, hurry, hurry. Again, we're trying to dig this out of that hole. So, the breakdown on these rates, I believe the first year is 25, and it increases, I believe it's 49 cents per 1,000 gallons for the first 8,000 gallons. And then it slightly changes from there. And in 26, it goes up again, I think it's 30 cents or 40 cents. So, and again, that's per 1,000 gallons. We're not talking, any increase is a bad increase, I get it. But we need to sustain the operations of this utility. So, that's all.
Thank you, sir. Call the roll, Mike.
Mr. Exiotis?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
And Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Pass 4-0.
Next, we have ordinance 2024-46. This is an emergency ordinance authorizing certain amendments to the appropriations for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, and authorizing the finance director to amend and file a certificate of resources with the county auditor.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Rufner and Ms. Benitez?
Any discussion?
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Exiotis?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
Pass 4-0. This requires a second reading.
Okay, this is ordinance 2024-46. This is an emergency ordinance authorizing certain amendments to the appropriations for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, and authorizing the finance director to amend and file a certificate of resources with the county auditor.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Exiotis and Ms. Benitez? Mr. Rufner?
Oh, please, I'm sorry.
Again, I figured I'd just wait till this time to explain it rather than explain it twice. Again, this is realigning the appropriations for the changes with the Scott Street project, with the settlement and everything with regards to payment for the chief, budgetary adjustments, so on and so forth. So this is catching up with the actions that we have been leading up to this point. So when you take a chief and remove him from technically not employed to full-time, there are changes that need to be made. Scott Street project, again, same thing. With amendments, updates, and modifications, you've got change orders. It has to be adjusted. So this reflects all of those changes we've been discussing over the last few months with regards to those funds.
Mr. Exiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
Pass 4-0.
Next, we have ordinance 2024-47. This is an ordinance authorizing the Newton Falls interim city manager to enter into an agreement to purchase Eclair electric meters from Brownstone Electrical Supply.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Rufner, Ms. Benitez.
Any discussion? Please.
This is to close out the AMI metering project. We're reaching the end of the run on installations. This will provide the necessary meters for Mr. George and his department to complete that process. And additionally, it does provide a few spares for situations and circumstances where a meter may have to be exchanged. So we'll have an actual meter on hand for an exchange rather than having to wait for one to come in, again, slowing the process. So I think it's good thinking, forethought, and again, finalizing, closing this project out.
Ms. Stimpert,
Yes.
Mr. Rufner,
Yes.
Mr. Exiotis,
Yes.
and Ms. Benitez.
Yes.
Pass 4-0.
All right, next we have ordinance 2024-48. This is an ordinance authorizing the interim city manager to enter into an agreement to pay Pollard Land Services Incorporated for overages incurred on the Scott Street Sanitary Sewer Project.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Stimpert and Mr. Exiotis.
Any discussion?
If I may.
Please.
It may be the easiest for me to explain. So during the project, naturally, there's some small overages that happen during a project. We're talking a $3.8 million project to get this sewer in. It was ultimately the city's project. We were in charge of the project. During construction, it was found that there was a residence that was in an area of this project, the end of Herbert Street and Riverside Drive, that when the original designs were done, this residence was just missed. It was just overlooked. The sewer didn't get there from either direction. It stopped short of this property. And knowing that particular septic is one that was flowing directly to the river, and we were literally a few hundred feet away, we couldn't leave that residence just hanging out there on an island, even though it's a township resident, whatever. So we approved extending it. In doing so, we saved a lot of money versus having to go back and install a sanitary sewer later on. This basically, we got this done for just cost and materials, time and materials to do it. It will give us one more customer, but it takes care of one less septic tank going to, just flowing to the river. I am still working at trying to see if we can get funding out of Trumbull County to offset this. I don't know if it's gonna happen or not, but ultimately, we had the contract, we need to make the contractor whole. And the payment is outside of what I could authorize, so that's why you're seeing this. I spoke about it that you would see this coming at the last meeting, so.
Mike, this residence was upriver from the water treatment plant, right?
Correct.
This residence was upriver from where we treat our.
Correct. It was upriver of the water treatment plant and just downstream of the water intake, so.
It says it all right.
Mr. Rufner,
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert,
Yes.
Mr. Exiotis,
Yes.
Ms. Benitez.
Yes.
Pass 4-0.
All right, next we have ordinance 2024-49. This is an ordinance establishing the annual operating budget and setting forth the appropriations for 2024.
I'll make the motion.
25.
I'll second.
Mr. Exiotis and Ms. Stemper.
Any discussion? Please. We kind of covered the operating budget in our work session we had prior to this meeting, so I think we're pretty well versed on what things look like for the year coming up. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, very nice.
It was very, very nice.
Mayor?
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
would just like to
Please.
thank everybody for pulling this together to do the work session, going through it, having the superintendents here. It was nice, and you really feel like you understand it and are able to dive in and ask those questions, on the floor. So I appreciate that.
Ms. Stemper.
Yes.
Mr. Rufner.
Yes.
Mr. Exiotis.
Yes.
Ms. Benitez.
Yes.
Pass 4-0.
All right, and finally, ordinance 2024-50. This is an ordinance authorizing the interim city manager to enter into contracts specified herein for the purchase of chemicals needed by the Village of Newton Falls Water.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Rufner and Ms. Benitez.
Discussion?
If I may.
Please.
This is the annual chemical purchase that we go out to the, get bids on and everything for the operation of the water plant. Superintendent came in tonight, done a very good job of explaining the operations, how they do it, and even touched a bit on these chemicals and why they're needed and what purpose they're used for. Again, every one of these are the lowest best bids. They're all doing their part to keep expenses to a minimum. So I greatly appreciate that. And again, this is an annual formality that we have to do as a result of having a plant.
Mr. Exiotis.
Yes.
Ms. Benitez.
Yes.
Mr. Rufner.
Yes.
Ms. Stemper.
Yes.
Pass 4-0. We have two motions that were added tonight as well. May I read the first motion?
Yes, would you please?
A motion, hold on. A motion to direct the interim city manager and the clerk of council to develop an advertisement for the position of police chief.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Exiotis and Ms. Stemper.
If we want to rehash it, we can.
Go ahead.
Obviously, Gene Fixler's contract is up here at the end of November. The charter requires us to have a police department in some form. I believe Mr. Limbian weighed in and said that by having a police chief, we would fulfill that requirement for the charter. That's what this motion is to do, is to start the ball rolling on finding the next police chief for Newton Falls.
I would just like to add, do we want to consider amending that to add the police chief in there to help with the description of the job? And do we want to put a time frame? Like, are we expecting this to be presented back to council in 2 weeks, 30 days?
I would say the next meeting would be ideal, but that's just,
Can I make an amendment that we have a description back by the next regular council meeting?
So the motion is to amend the motion to include a deadline for completion of the advertisement by next regular meeting.
Yes, and I also think I want to add that the current police chief is involved in creating
To
the
include the
description.
current chief
Yes.
in the development of the advertisement.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Do we have a motion, or do we have a second for that motion to amend?
I'll second.
Mr. Rufner, any discussion on the amendment?
Call the roll.
There's a motion to amend. We now need a motion to pass it as amended.
I'll make the motion.
That's be Mr. Rufner
I'll second.
and Ms. Stimpert. And I might call the roll, please. Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
Pass 4-0. And the next motion is to vote, a motion to direct the interim city manager and the clerk of council to develop, oh, wait a minute, to develop a professional advertisement for the position of city manager.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Stimpert and Mr. Rufner.
Discussion. Please. Do we need to amend that one to add it for the next agenda?
Do we want to add it to the next agenda, or do we want to give them like another 2 weeks? Like, so we have the police chief come next, that description come in? Huh?
I would ask for on one of them at least an extra
Yeah.
two. Oh, just because of still splitting duties.
So the
I
first
agree,
meeting
yeah.
in December then?
That would sound better.
Okay.
Okay, so can we admit, I'm gonna make a motion to, or no, you're gonna make the motion. You gonna make it?
Well, it don't matter.
Okay, I'll make the motion to extend it to the first meeting in December.
Okay?
I'll second that.
And that's Ms. Stimpert and Mr. Axiotis with a motion to amend the motion to direct the interim city manager and the clerk of council to develop a professional advertisement for the position of city manager and to be presented to council at the first meeting in December.
I have a question, then, just a procedural to the city clerk, but does that require us to vote on the
We have to,
proposed amendment, then we vote on the amended motion?
Yes, we'll
Because we
vote.
didn't do that on the previous one.
well, you vote to amend.
Well, we took a motion to amend the motion, but we never voted on that. We then voted on the amended motion, so,
Oh,
On the last one.
yeah.
on the last one. Should we back up and do that again?
Yes.
Okay, let's finish this one.
Okay, sorry.
So this is a vote on the motion to amend.
The first motion for chief?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the motion to amend.
Hold on.
And this is for the city
This is for the
manager.
City manager,
Yeah, let's-
not the chief.
Yes, this is on the.
Clean this one up.
We'll
yeah,
go
this
back.
is a-
Okay.
This is gonna be
I misunderstood.
a vote on the motion to amend the motion to read that you direct the interim city manager and the clerk of council to develop a professional advertisement for the position of city manager to be presented to council at the first meeting in December. So the vote is to simply amend it to say that, and we'll take a vote. Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert,
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis,
Yes.
and Ms. Benitez.
Yes.
We passed that one 4-0. Now we're going to vote on the motion as amended. Do we get a motion to pass the motion as amended?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Axiotis and Mr. Rufner. And we'll vote on that. Mr. Axiotis,
Yes.
Mr. Rufner,
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert,
Yes.
Ms. Benitez.
Yes.
That one passes 4-0. Now we'll go back to the previous motion, which was a motion to direct the city manager, interim city manager, and the clerk of council to develop a professional advertisement for the position of police chief. We have that motion by Mr. Axiotis and a second by Ms. Stempert. And the motion to amend was made by Ms. Stempert. And that amendment was to direct the interim city manager and the clerk of council to develop an advertisement for the position of police chief, and to include the police chief in the development of that advertisement, and to present that final advertisement to council for consideration at the next regular meeting.
Right.
So, do we have,
Rufner seconded it.
who seconded the motion to amend?
I believe it was.
I
Rufner,
believe I did.
Kevin did.
Mr. Rufner. So the motion, so we'll vote on the motion to amend. Ms. Benitez,
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis.
Yes.
Mr. Rufner,
Yes.
Ms. Stemper.
Yes.
Passed 4-0. It's now amended, so now to pass as amended, can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Ms. Stemper and Ms. Benitez. Any discussion? Vote. Mr. Rufner,
Yes.
Ms. Stemper,
Yes.
Ms. Benitez,
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis.
Yes.
Passes 4-0.
Sorry about that.
Thank you for your patience.
You guys, I need a Dramamine after all that motion.
It was Inception.
All right, we're going to move along to public comments tonight. Anybody have any public comments? And we'll go into closing remarks. Just want to thank everybody for, doing such a nice job. Miss Jamie, with reports that are so important so that everybody understands what's going on. And I hate to use the T word with transparency, but it was a very nice presentation. And I think our council here and Law Director, City Manager, and Mr. Akam over there, y'all doing a very nice job moving things along here. So that's all I have to say. Turn it over to council.
Again, kudos to Jamie for this wonderful booklet that we can go home and study, and the pictures and the paper and the color papers and everything. Very good. Thank you.
Well, it's like a broken record, but I'm going to reiterate the same thing. I love having a work session where we can kind of talk things out. Could have been maybe a little longer, dare I say it, but there's a lot to cover in that book, and there's a lot of questions that you get out of that book as you're studying it, but it's really great to have, and I love transparency. I don't think anybody here wants to operate in the dark, so thank you. Thank you, guys.
Pat, do you have anything, Pat?
You did.
All right. How about you, Joe?
I'll go. I'm just going to reiterate the same type of thing. I know Mr. Novotny and I had conversations early on when he was put in place for interim of the budget and having meetings and having the superintendents and the finance director here. And I do agree. I had to come late, but I think there was so much more we could have talked about and understood. So, initially Mr. Novotny had said, we would do this over multiple meetings, but we've just hired a finance director, a lot of things in place. So moving forward, I see good things happening, and I greatly appreciate the booklet of lots of numbers and the time spent. And also to the superintendents, if you give them our thanks for being here. I know that's probably not something they like to do, but just hearing straight from their mouths of what their departments are doing and needing and whatnot is nice to hear as a legislator, so thank you. And fire board meeting, November 19th, 2024 at 6 o'clock at the Township Administration Building, if anybody would like to attend the fire board meeting. That's all I have.
Ms. Rufner, you have anything?
I guess on this one, I'm just going to say thank you again, Jamie, department heads, Mike, everybody for putting this together. One other thing I do want to bring up, and it's because I got a lot of phone calls, a lot of questions, a lot of emails. This is specifically regarding the referendum. When the referendum was put on, you have to first understand what a referendum is. By definition, it is a citizen's initiative to overturn a single legislative action or decision by the board. The board being council, the individual decision or action was 2024-01, dissolving the Chapter 144 of the Administrative Code, subsequently the Department of Historic Sites and Structures. Should have never actually been on the ballot in the first place. The law director submitted several point papers to that point. Nonetheless, it was put on. A legislative action is the only thing that can be referendumed per our charter. Chapter 144 of the Administrative Code is not legislative, it's administrative. It was not subject to referendum in the first place. On top of that, the charter gives council the right, I believe it's Article 3, and I forget the section off the top of my head. Council can establish and basically dissolve or abolish any committee that's not previously defined by the charter. So we exercised that right. We had that right to do that. And, you know, that's where it went. By the virtue of itself, if you look at it, the referendum of 2024-01 was for the citizens to either say yes and overturn it, because that's what a referendum does, or vote no and support the action that council took. So keeping that in mind, and after many discussions with the law director, the no vote on the referendum basically effectively stated that the citizens have firmly supported the decision of council, and ordinance 2024-01 stands as passed. Not everybody's going to agree with that. If you have a better argument, please bring it to the law director. But that's cut and dry right down the line. There's no reason for everybody to get all excited, get all upset. It is what it is, and we move on. So that's all I've got.
Ms. Jamie, do you have anything else for us?
No, just to say thank you for your patience. It was a lot of numbers tonight, but I'm here, so if you need some further explanation, please feel free, email me, call me, stop in.
Mr. Lemian, do you have anything else for us?
Nothing more, sir, thank you.
Mr. City Manager, do you have anything, sir?
Just one thing, reiterate what Mr. Axiotis said earlier. I'd like to put a thank you out there to Councilwoman Persino, the school kids. They put a lot of work in over at the skate park. It looks great. It really does. Hopefully it'll stay that way for some time, but some of those things are outside of our control. But they did. They put a lot of hard work from the time that they started submitting their designs to going out and putting the time in to paint it. So just a big thank you. It makes it look a lot better out there.
Please.
Is there any consideration in recognizing them here at council? Has there been any conversation about that, or could we do that?
Council could,
Do a resolution?
Proclamation.
a proclamation, yeah.
I didn't know if there was something started. I'll talk to Ms. Persino.
Okay. Do we have any motion to recess into executive session here tonight? All right. Well, that'll take us to adjournment here tonight.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Mr. Axiotis, Ms. Stimpert, Mr. Rufner,
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis,
Yes.
Ms. Benitez,
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert.
Yes.
Pass 4-0, 7:04 PM.
No.